Guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Rough, Tam McManus, and Charlie Adam are joining us here on the programme. It's like a blindside run on this programme, Roughie. Who's going to make it in time for us all, starting with the COVID taking its full effect on not only football but all sports. And that brings us to Nicola Sturgeon firing a warning to sports not to abuse their privilege. We'll be discussing Nicola very shortly, and of course it's Celtic coming back from Dubai that we'll be discussing, because they've got a match on Monday against Hibernian. But the big question is, will there be anybody with COVID in that squad? If there is indeed any player with COVID, I'm sure they will leave themselves wide open to criticism. It's back to the Premiership this weekend. We'll be discussing Rangers and their march towards that title. We'll hear from Steven Gerrard. We'll also be discussing whether Alan McGregor will sign a new deal, and Leon Balogun as well at the forefront of the Rangers manager's mind. So lots to discuss in the Premiership. We'll also have a little look at what's happening in the FA Cup third round, the glamour of the FA Cup. Is it still there? We'll get Charlie Adams' thoughts on that as well. You can follow us on our Facebook. We'd love you to just to hit the follow, share it with your friends. Share the programme as well. And if you see that red subscribe button on YouTube, by all means, hit that button and join the football family. So, Nicola Sturgeon, Roughie, has said, listen, be careful. I'm talking about all sports, not just football. Don't abuse the privileges, or we'll have to review the situation.
Yeah, I think it just shows you how serious the pandemic is. Obviously, this new strain's coming back. Everybody's getting really, really anxious, about the vaccine. That we're trying to get it as quick as possible. I think everybody has to be 100% sure on whatever they're doing, that has to be correct. And she's ahead of it, so she has to make sure that the warnings are out there for everybody to adhere to. And I think she's got to keep doing that. The pressure's on her. If anything falls flat somewhere down the line, she's the one that's going to cop for it. So I think she's right, and just making everybody aware of what your responsibilities are. I wouldn't like to think you're just picking on football because of, some of the instances that have happened. But I think it's a warning to everybody. But I would like to think by this time everybody's grasped the warning in the football stakes.
Yeah, she's mentioned there's no guarantee of travel exemptions would remain if sport doesn't police itself vigorously. And that really is basically, Tam, a situation where I think Celtic are on a really fine line here of making sure that nobody in that squad has COVID who comes back from Dubai, because if they do, all hell will let loose.
Yeah, I think that's the main issue. I think, Peter, no one can be inside that bubble. No one, that needs to be extra strong, and no one coming back from Dubai, because as you said, if they come back and anybody's carrying it from the staff, players and staff, then they're going to be wide open for a lot of criticism, and rightfully so. They've took a chance. I think they've took a gamble and going to Dubai. I don't think they should have went, but they've went over there to train hard. So the proof will be in the pudding. They come back, they look good against Hibs, they look refreshed, they look fit, and they beat Hibs. Then I don't think any Celtic fans will say another word about it. But if they come back and they're sloppy and they don't beat Hibs, then they're going to be wide open for criticism, as well as anybody in the camp picking up COVID in their travels.
Yeah, well, the big news in Scottish football, I'll get Charlie's thoughts on it in a moment. He'll undoubtedly be able to give us a little insight into the man, but there's a new man in charge at Motherwell. Let's cross to Fir Park. Our man, Gabriel Antoniazzi, is there.
Thanks, Peter. Yes, Motherwell have unveiled Graham Alexander as their new manager. The former Fleetwood Town, Scunthorpe United and Salford City boss will take the reins from Stephen Robinson, who left last week. He'll take charge straight away. He'll be in the dugout against St Mirren tomorrow, with his side 11th place in the table. Here's what he had to say about his new job.
It's something I haven't done. Even though I played for Scotland internationally, I never played it domestically or obviously coached or managed, and it's always held a fascination for me because obviously I've had a lot of exposure to Scottish football, Scottish players, Scottish managers. The best ones I played under were all Scottish, even down south, at Preston North End and Burnley. So, that there was that side of it. I think, when you're looking at roles and what you can bring to it, can you improve it? Can you achieve success, for the club? And I think after speaking to the board a few days ago, when we had the interview, it sort of whetted my appetite to really try and get the job.
I also asked Alexander what his short-term and long-term ambitions are here at Fir Park.
And I like to think if you look after the short term, the long term follows. Instead of trying to plan 10 months down the line, you get momentum going. I think winning makes players better. It makes them more confident, and I think you get the ball rolling. You can do whatever you want. But there are short term targets. The club is in a position it doesn't want to be in and shouldn't be in, and obviously that's my initial task, is to help the team get out of that, which I think is certainly capable of. But after that, I don't really want to talk about certain positions or something, because there's not a game I'll go into or I want my team to go into trying to get out of it with a draw or anything like that.
Well, there's his thoughts on it. Charlie, as a player, I think he played over 1,000 games. His fitness was exceptional.
Peter, listen, I said before that Tommy Wright was probably the right manager to be in the job in the situation they're in. Obviously, they've went for Graham, but if you look at Graham's playing career, over 1,000 games, 40 odd caps for Scotland, he's been round the block. The one thing about the Motherwell lads is they work hard, and that's one thing I know, because obviously going into Fleetwood and hearing about this, when Graham was there, that he worked them hard, he left them well organised, a defender. They've been shipping goals, so they'll need to tighten up that way. So it's listen, every managerial appointment's a gamble. Obviously, he's not been in Scotland as a manager or a player, but he'll know quickly about the players in the group, and let's say they need to get out of that trouble quickly, because if they don't, it's going to be a long season from now to the summer.
Yeah, Graham Alexander, I think, is high on fitness, Tam. I think that's one thing the Motherwell players are going to be well aware of. If anything, despite the fact he's been sacked 3 times, if anything, I think that the criticism has been that at times he can be overly cautious.
Yeah, listen, I think looking at it from down south, obviously, I watched the Salford thing on the TV. I'm sure everybody did, and he was very big on defensively stuff. And I think that's going to be a key for Motherwell, because they're shipping far too many goals. I think that Motherwell have got goals at the other end, but they're losing 2 and 3 goals a game. So I think he's got to go in there immediately and tighten up the back four, tighten up the team. And if he's got to be cautious, they start picking up points, and I think he'll do that. But I think Motherwell are in a false position. I think they've got a good squad of players in there. Maybe a fresh voice is needed. I think Graham Alexander will give them a lift. I think he'll get in there and it's somebody different. And I think they'll get a reaction off the players starting from Saturday. And, I'm looking forward to seeing how he does up here, because I mentioned it in the show on Wednesday. I would quite fancy him getting the job. It's something different. He's not been up here, he's not played up here. So it's something fresh for everybody, and interesting to see how he goes. But I think he'll do well at Motherwell.
Yeah, interestingly enough, it's Motherwell against St Mirren. Jim Goodwin says, the Stephen Robinson situation proves that every manager's job is in jeopardy.
For Stephen to have done what he done at the club, in terms of the players that he sold, the amount of finances he brought into the club, going very far in cup competitions, and obviously a 3rd place finish in the Premier League. I think what it does is make the rest of us realise that you're never safe in this job. It's as simple as that.
Yep, everybody can get the bullet. Listen, lots to talk about as far as the weekend's football. Here's the full list of the Premiership fixtures just before Tam leaves and goes into another room. It's Dundee United against St Johnstone, Kilmarnock, Hamilton, St Mirren, Motherwell, Aberdeen, Rangers and Livingston, Ross County on the Sunday, and Celtic against Hibs on the Monday. No doubt about the game of the weekend up at Pittodrie. Aberdeen against Rangers should be an absolute cracker. We'll get the predictions shortly, but there's talk about Alan McGregor. His contract up in the summer. Will he sign a new deal? Steven Gerrard's certainly keen to get him tied down.
I think it'll be a case of what Alan wants to do. So at the right time, I'll sit down with Alan and we'll talk to his people who represent him, and we'll have an open discussion on that one. But we're really pleased with his form. Leon is someone who we want to keep hold of. He knows that. He's performing ever so well. He signed a contract with an option. of an extension on that contract.
I mean, Charlie, McGregor will be in the running as a nominee for Player of the Year, surely.
Yeah, I think the manager's been, just trying to relax the situation. Alan McGregor will sign a new contract with Rangers. That's not the issue. It's just, when they do it. The good thing about Rangers at the moment, or when he does, he always, in the Steve Davis situation, they do it quickly. They don't wait to, 6 weeks before the end of the season. They know and they're planning already for next season. And the form Alan McGregor's in, there's probably nobody in Britain at the moment in the form that he's in. So he's going well, and it'll just be a matter of time, when he signs that contract. So the two lads, Balogun as well, deserve new deals, and it'd be good to get that wrapped up. But there'll be more important things like Sunday. That's a massive game for Rangers.
Yeah, it's a big game, Roughie, on the basis that they could go 22 points ahead of Celtic before Celtic take on Hibs. Got a few injury worries. Arfield's not going to be there. Roof won't be there. Ryan Jack won't be on the side. But is it a game where you think Aberdeen can cause them problems?
I think Aberdeen can cause anybody problems up there if they put their mind to it. They certainly got the players. It's one of the places that you would expect to get a really, really tough game. I think Rangers will be looking at this game sort of matching it up with the Kilmarnock game for last year, because that's when it all sort of went pear-shaped. So I would think they'd be saying to themselves, if we get over this hurdle, that sort of is out the way. We're not going to fall into the same trap we fell into last year and look at the score. And I think that'll be the motivation for this game in particular, because if Aberdeen were to win it, then people would start talking about what happened after the turn of the year. So in that aspect, I think it's a big game for Rangers. I think they'll want to win it, and they'll want to win it comfortably. There's no reason to say they won't do it. I know they didn't play particularly well against Celtic, but Aberdeen have been so inconsistent this year, and Darren McManus, will not know what to expect when his players go into that park. But he'll be wanting them to put in a shift. There's no doubt about that. And Pittodrie and Easter Road are the sort of venues you would look at Rangers and Celtic going to and getting a tough tie.
Yeah, well, if you're talking about consistency, they're unbeaten in 5, Aberdeen. So they're starting to get a bit of form, Tam. The only downside for Derek McInnes ahead of this game is there won't be any new players in. I think he's resigned to the fact that this is a squad he has all the way to the summer.
Yeah, listen, I think Aberdeen have got a big squad anyway. You look at their squad on paper. Now I think, listen to Derek in his press conference yesterday, and he's now thinking that he's got most of his players back and he can give Rangers a better game. I think that the 2 previous games, I think Aberdeen have been short, particularly the game at Ibrox, and obviously they were missing a couple of players through COVID issues. So I think that Aberdeen will definitely give Rangers a game. I think they'll take something from the game, and I think Aberdeen will go on and finish third this season. That hurts me to say, because obviously I want Hibs to finish third, but I just think Aberdeen now, you look at their squad, I don't think they need to sign any more players. I think they need to keep the guys they've got. I've seen the extended Greg Lay's contract. So, listen, I think they're in a good position, Aberdeen, and I think they'll go and give Rangers a real test at the weekend.
Yeah, 19 points ahead of Celtic at the moment. But as Stephen Gerrard mentioned ahead of this game, it's not about the lead. It's about taking each game as it comes.
And we're not a group of people that look back. We always try and look forward. We've just beat a very good team last week in Celtic. We've won 14 on the spin. We're unbeaten in terms of the league. So that gives me confidence and belief that we're in a good place. But, I know as well as anyone that form's only temporary. You've got to keep pushing. You've got to keep trying to max out. You've got to keep trying to raise the bar and face every challenge that comes our way.
Yeah, and Ronnie Porter says Rangers still have Itten, Defoe, Aribo and Kamara to fill these positions. Of course, that's the great thing about having the strength and depth. I'm looking at it. I've gone Rangers to win by 2-1. Roughie, what are you going for?
Yeah, I think Aberdeen will put in a shift. I think Derek's got a lot to prove. I'm going to sit in the fence in this one. I'm going to go one each. In this one, I think it'll be quite a harder game than what Aberdeen have given Rangers in the past. So I'm going to go one each.
And the good news is, Roughie, obviously we do our predictions ahead of time because we are fair and we don't cheat. Let's have a look at Tam's predictions from there, Roughie. And nothing on there with Tam because... oh, have you? Oh, that's a blessing for us all then. Okay, what are you going for Aberdeen Rangers?
As I said, I think Aberdeen have got a stronger squad now than the previous couple of games. They're on a good run of form. I think they'll get a draw. I'm going to go for 2 each.
2 each in that game. Charlie, what's your take?
Well, I was fortunate enough to watch the first game of the season, and Aberdeen were absolutely honking. So I don't think anything will change, and I think Rangers are the only team that will beat themselves this year. I think they're comfortable, they're going well. I think it'll be an easy 2-0 victory. Okay,
so Charlie going for Rangers to win by 2-0. The other match, which I think is tasty on that calendar over the weekend, we've already discussed Motherwell against St Mirren. Interestingly enough, I must get your thoughts on Motherwell St Mirren, the predictions. Tam, I notice you've got yours on. Are you happy with it? Is it just great for working, for training, for playing in? Are you happy with it, Tam?
Or sitting about the house doing none. Yeah, no, it's great. No, listen, thanks very much for sending that out to us, Peter. I'm sure if the people tuning in want to buy one, they're great quality and they're superb.
I've got mine. Mine will be getting produced next week.
Yeah, but Charlie, I mean, I fully expect you to have it.
I thought that Dundee top was glued onto him, Peter.
I'm working that hard. I'm having to come straight from training to do this.
It just keeps your training
on. Absolutely. I know Roughie's had his red one on yesterday, so everybody's got them. You can click on if you're on the YouTube, you can click on the shop and it'll take you straight through to the website. And of course, you can get whichever one you think suits a little bit of history. We based them on Shankly, Steen, Bob Paisley, Sir Bobby Robson, and of course it's a bit retro with a modern twist to it, or Maestro tops, among other great Legends t-shirts that you can get your hands on there in the shop. Anyway, thought we'd mention that. Wee bit of plug for the shop. As far as Motherwell against St Mirren, I didn't get your predictions on that, lads. I'm just looking here at the Motherwell game, and I've got St Mirren to win by 1-0 on the basis, Roughie, that I think it'll take a wee bit of time for Alexander to get his teeth into it.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think St Mirren now do believe that they can get 2 goals in a game, particularly at home. I think the Motherwell defence is still a bit vulnerable. They have got a good goalkeeper in, which will make a difference. But I'm going to stick with St Mirren. I'm going to go St Mirren to win 2-1.
Yeah. Charlie?
Going on Roughie's, but I think it's a good sign in the goalkeeper. I think, obviously, Graham Alexander's obviously given that the go-ahead to go through. But I'm going to go 1-1.
Tam?
I'm going to go against all of you. I think that Motherwell will get a new manager bounce. I think the goalkeeper is a great signing. Hopefully the goalkeeper for last week against Hamilton doesn't keep his place. So I am going to go for 2-1 to the mighty Well. I think the Well will get a victory. 2-1.
Okay, yeah, we've got those predictions in place. Thanks to Ian Young, who's posted a message. He says, how annoying is it these guys trying to punt cheap tracksuit taps? Thanks for that, Ian. They ain't cheap, Ian, as you'll find out. But nevertheless, hey, who are we to bow to sponsors and little bits of merchandise on the shop, Ian? Sorry that I upset you, but nevertheless, you can buy them. You're not under any major force to buy them, let me tell you, Ian. You can just dinghy it, as many a person would say on this programme. Okay,
Roughie,
so...
who did you go for,
Celtic?
Roughie? There, sorry.
I've went for St Mirren to win 2-1.
2-1. Okay, look at Tam writing them down.
Scores are all getting down there.
Oh, he's writing them down.
Been a massive swing, isn't there?
By the way, Charlie is unbelievable. He's from this kind of a arrogant chest out. Suddenly, when I nailed 17 points in one weekend, it absolutely kiboshed him. So, but Roughie and I were experienced. We knew exactly what was happening. We would reel him in eventually. Listen, I'm looking forward to Monday, Celtic against Hibs. Basically, because when you look at the last time the two of them came together, Hibs gave them a right good game. And of course, Celtic ended up with a 2-2 draw, Tam. So I expect this one to be equally as tight.
Well, listen, if you've seen Hibs the last 2 games, you wouldn't be saying that. They have been atrocious. I am hoping from a Hibs point of view that the 9-day break has done them a bit of good. It's rested a few legs up. A few of them have got away from the training ground and relaxed and put their feet up, because there's 5 or 6 players in that Hibs team who have played every single game over the Christmas period, and they were shattered the last couple of games. I'm looking at Paul McGinn, Paul Hanlon, Ryan Porteous, Joe Newell, Martin Boyle, Kevin Nisbet. They've played every game because Hibs have got such a small squad and they've got injuries to a few key players. So I'm hoping that the rest has done them good. It'll be interesting to see, as you said, how Celtic approach it. I think the pressure is on Celtic massively, because they need to win this game and put on a performance after going away to Dubai. Their fans will be tuning in keenly to see how they got on. So, it's difficult for me to say. I think Celtic win the game. If Hibs play the way they've played the last couple of games, Celtic win the game comfortably, but we'll wait and see what sort of Hibs team turns up.
Well, I don't want you to get all emotional now, but let's hear from your boyfriend, Kevin Nisbet, who clearly thinks they can take Celtic.
I think Celtic are a great team. They've got a lot of great players. They're obviously went through a wee sticky patch there, but they put back-to-back wins and started winning again, so I think it was a really good game. And I think for us, it's just about doing the same we've done the last team. Even the first game against Parkhead, I thought we were really good. I thought we caused them a lot of problems, and I think it's just about doing the exact same on Monday.
Yeah. What about Matt Macy? What's the feeling like getting the Arsenal goalkeeper over? Tam, obviously, Marciano's had a few injury problems.
Yeah, listen, I don't know a lot about the guy. He's 6'7", as it's been said about 400 times on social media. It's obviously a big lad. They've obviously recalled Dabrowski from Dumbarton, who's very highly rated. So I think that was cover needed. Dylan Barnes going back to QPR. I think Hibs needed to strengthen that department. Obviously, we know Marciano is absolute top class, as Roughie knows that as well. So it's going to be good to get some competition in there beside an international class goalkeeper.
There's a good question, Roughie. The tallest goalkeeper you've ever encountered, he's 6'7". I'm trying to think if there's anybody. Is there anybody bigger than that you've come across?
Well, I always thought Peter McCloy. I thought Peter McCloy was touching 7 foot at one stage, but his arms were about 7 foot, because I used to have his Scotland jerseys when he packed it in, and I had to roll them up about 5 or 6 times. But big Peter was a big guy. But certainly that's the way. Charlie will know better than me. Down in England, you've got to be 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". That's the way of the land. I remember, excuse me, I remember 2 or 3 years ago, Mark McGee, when he was down at Reading, phoned me up and said, Roughie, he said, is there any young Scottish goalkeepers I should be keeping my eye on? And before I said anybody, he said, his exact words to me, don't tell me who he is if he's no 6'5". That was his exact words to me. And that just shows you how things were changing then.
Yeah, it reminds me of Fergie, who would look at a player and assess them, but make sure they were quick as well for Manchester United. But I have to say, I love our researchers who are on this. Well done, Cheryl, who says the tallest player in football and the tallest goalkeeper in the world is Simon Block Jorgensen, who stands at a remarkable 6 feet 10.5". Which is absolutely incredible. He's a Danish goalkeeper who spent his early career in Copenhagen, and he's also played for Accrington Stanley and Whitehawk. So there you have it, 6 feet 10.5", which is absolutely
just put him in the bottom corners, Charlie.
Yeah, keep your high balls low.
Keep the high balls low.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, for the benefit of some of our older viewers, Peter McCloy was a great goalkeeper. And the one thing that he had, and I always remember it from the European Cup Winners' Cup final in 1972, he could kick a ball, Roughie, almost the length of the pitch without even thinking about it. I think it was Willie Johnstone got his goal from a Route 1 kick that just travelled all the way through.
Yeah, I thought I'd mastered that when I went over to Orlando to play for Orlando Line, and my first night was a Friday night. It was about 80, 90 degrees, and the first chance I get my hand in the ball, and I just sort of wellied it right into the other goal mouth. I think it hit the penalty spot, and all I could hear was, "You're the man, you're the man." And I went, I've not been treating this game serious enough. That's what I like, you know. But you're right, Big Peter was the same, you know. I think your neck. I wouldn't like it being Big Derek trying to sort of ahead of his things coming out there.
Yeah, absolutely. He was known as the Girvan Lighthouse, thanks to so many people who've mentioned that.
We let everybody know what he's doing now.
Well.
We let everybody know what he's doing now.
I think you should, Roughie, because I've actually been down there and chatted to him.
Yeah, he is. He is the starter at Turnberry Golf Course, and he's been there for many a year. He's the main guy who sets you off in your trail.
Why couldn't you just call it Turnberry Golf Course there? What did you have to mention Trump for on the programme, Roughie? Unbelievable. Can't believe you.
That show's going too political.
Exactly. Sturgeon at the start, Trump midway through it. Anyway, but thanks to Andy for that, remembering him so affectionately. And Davy Palfrey has said, Roughie, Billy Thompson was quite tall. Billy Thompson, good goalkeeper.
Yes.
He was at St Mirren, he was at Dundee United as well, and he was at Rangers.
Billy took over for me at Partick Thistle. When I moved to Hibs, Billy took over for me there. You know, no, Billy was a tall guy. We were talking about Jim McLean, you know, unfortunately passing away. Jim McLean couldn't handle him. Now he always wore tracksuit bottoms. Billy always wore. I don't know why. I've never ever asked Billy this. Why he always? Maybe it was the sand up there in that pitch in Tannadice or whatever.
I had Tomo at Rangers when he was goalie coach with Alec McLeish, and his hands were like shovels.
Shovels.
Like big. Oh my God, hands were massive.
Yeah, Big Jim was also in massive hands. That's what I was trying to think about. Was Jim
Stewart.
Jim Stewart. His hands were incredible, by the way. Could crush your head.
Biggest of the lot. Pat Jennings.
Yes, Pat Jennings, who is one of those goalkeepers, Roughie, that you don't see it a lot now. And in fact, if you guys can enlighten me of it, Pat Jennings was the king of coming out and grabbing the ball with one hand. It was incredible, Roughie, wasn't it? What a keeper he was for Spurs and Arsenal.
It was fantastic. He's the only other goalkeeper that's still got the same hairstyle as me when he started.
This is also the case.
But Lamal.
Honest, you should actually go and see Pat Jennings. He has got the exact same hairstyle. It hasn't changed in about 50 years. Anyway, good to reflect on some old keepers as well. Thanks very much to lots of people who have mentioned that as well. So we've given our predictions, have we?
Oh,
Celtic.
Tam never told us the score at Parkhead.
Yeah, I've got Celtic to win 2-0, Tam. What have you got?
Tam's keeping that secret.
No, I think Celtic win 2-0 as well.
All right, Roughie.
So we're all 2-0.
Oh, we're all 2-0. That's fine.
I think Celtic will limp over the line 1-0.
Oh, right, there you are. 1-0, Charlie reckons, just getting past Hibs and no more. Obviously, I think tomorrow is when Celtic are scheduled to do the press conference ahead of the game. And then it's another 48 hours of waiting and making sure that everybody is a clean bill of health without any threat.
Did they land back
COVID.
today?
I think they're back in. I think they're back in the country today. And then, of course, quite a number of people have mentioned about the quarantine situation. I know that the quarantine situation will people will have to
10 days, isn't it?
Looking here, there's a little breaking story here which has come out from Celtic. I think they will land back today, Charlie, in answer to your question. And obviously, there's new rules coming into place where people will have to be providing 72 hours before they land in the United Kingdom, Scotland and England anyway, a negative COVID test. There's a Celtic statement which has just come out, which is basically the abuse that Near Beaton has received. Celtic has forwarded the vile content to the police and considers that everything should be done to identify those responsible and that all appropriate action should be taken. Near Beaton and his family have our full support. Let us be very clear, those responsible for such vile comments do not represent Celtic or Celtic supporters. They are faceless and nameless. And really, this is really indicative of the way we've had to put up with, the internet has been a welcome invention for so many people, but there are always downsides to these situations. And the downside is there's a platform on the internet now and social media for morons, for people who, and I make no apologies for this, because I received a bit of criticism before, but for people who were dragged up and basically have no form of common decency. And because they think that there's no picture on their social media, there's no name attached to them, they think they can get away with throwing all sorts of abuse to anybody they think is fair game. And Near Beaton is the latest. Sports people up and down the country, and lots of people in society have to suffer abuse. And Celtic have rightly passed this on to the police to see if they can get the culprits and charge them. And I think that's the way you have to go about your business with this, Roughie. Have a zero tolerance approach to it.
Yeah, I would like to think in this day and age with technology now, that there should be people actively, chasing these kind of things down. Because the more people get caught out, the better. It sends out a message to everybody else. I'm not part of that kind of stuff that goes on. But and when you see the technology that's going on just now, surely it shouldn't be hard to nail somebody down who's got a website or whatever, and punish them. And when I say punish them, I mean punish them. I don't mean letting them off lightly. I mean, look at the way we're all absolutely not upset, but obviously terrible that these things should be happening in this day and age. And the only way to step it out is to punish these people properly and stop letting them off lenient if they do it again.
Yeah, I wonder, Charlie, you're still playing in the game. How do you handle the social media abuse?
Well, I've not spoken out about it, but I got a message the other day after the game against Hearts, which was absolutely disgusting, and I don't really want to go into it, but it was at order. It was at a level that the club know about it, and I just made the decision that we'll just allow these people to do it. I don't want them to cause a fuss, but it's embarrassing that these people can actually be allowed to. You report it to your Instagram, social media people, platforms, and hope that they deal with it. But it's not fair. I don't think it's right, and something has to be done about it because it's easy to hide behind the keyboard.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wasn't aware of that. I genuinely asked you that open question there.
No. It was only because you asked me the question that I've actually, I had a discussion with the club after the game the other night. Something was sent to me after the game, and listen, there was a level, and it was well below the level that it should have been, and it's obviously sad to be able to do that, but you deal with it in a different way, and I just feel that just getting on with it and moving on is the best way for me as a player. But when somebody like Near Beaton, who's gave a great service to the club, and then because of a mistake that happened, to receive things like that, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's a modern day poison, Tam. I would say, and on this programme, we take a bit of banter. Sometimes if I'm on YouTube or I'm on Twitter and on the Facebook, we have a bit of banter with people. That there's a difference between the banter in football and noise ups here and there, and then what I call that percentage that think it's fair game to be really abusive towards people. We try and ban them. Some people laugh at me because I leather people on here for being in the gutter with their mind, and how I remind them of the need for decency. But I make no bones about it. I will continue to do it because I think the majority of people who are decent people want you to out them, want you to make them feel small, want them to go away. The unfortunate thing about the 21st century is social media has given a platform to people that you would never hear from in society.
Yeah, I think it's a joke. I'm really sorry to hear that Charlie's got that abuse. But it doesn't surprise me. I have had terrible abuse. Direct messages messaging me. After games and after something I've said, whether it's about Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, Hibs, whatever. It's an absolute joke. And the thing is, Peter, on Twitter, these people can make up accounts. You don't have to put your name down, your address. You don't have to put down your passport. Anything that's got to change. That's got to change for me. you've got to be able to put your name and your address down, or your picture, your passport, your driver's license to open an account, because it's happening too many times, you know, in Twitter and social media. And I'm not on Facebook. I think Facebook's obviously a bit different. You've got to put down your name or whatever. But in terms of Twitter and stuff like that, these people are getting away with murder, you know, and they would never say that to your face or Charlie's face or any of your faces, you know, but they think because they're behind a computer and behind a fake avatar that they can say what they want. It's an absolute disgrace, and it's something that I think Twitter and Instagram and companies like that need to really look into, because no person should be getting that sort of abuse, you know. It really upsets me that Charlie's, you know, got that kind of stuff sent to him.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook. I'm amazed, Tam, that you're not on Facebook. It's kind of a one of those. I use Facebook just to annoy my sisters and post photographs of them from 40 years ago. But why did you make that decision not to go on Facebook, Tam?
I don't know. I've just never really been. It's never been my cup of tea, to be honest. I quite like Twitter. As I said, it's decent at times, but you do get the odd person in that. And I'm in every club that support, even people that don't support a club, who want to direct message you absolute filth and disgusting stuff. You know, and it's not on. But Facebook's never been for me, to be honest.
Yeah. To be fair, there's no point in asking Roughie, because you can't get Facebook on a Nokia 3010 from 1989. So
he's on different websites.
Yeah.
He's still on Bebo.
I don't know if I could handle somebody shouting at me.
Yeah, absolutely. Bebo, that's a great one. It just shows you, you know, Tam, you know, when you think of all the great inventions in social media,
MSN.
and everything, yeah, sometimes the
MSN
pioneers,
Messenger.
Charlie, they're not remembered, you know. Anyway, it's still, I think, and I really do thank the people who are on this programme. You know, the majority of them, we've got thousands upon thousands who watch it, not only here in the UK, which we are so delighted for on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, but we have thousands across the whole of the world who actually tune in at different times. They watch it. Expats who mention it to us from Australia, from New Zealand, from America, from Canada, from Vietnam. There's a Hibs fan in Vietnam who watches the programme and messages me regularly. They're all over the place, and we are absolutely delighted they join us and want their wee bit of banter and they want their wee bit of Scottish football. And you know, we're absolutely delighted that they join us, and they're all thoroughly decent people who love their football, love their memories of great footballers of the past. So we will continue on that vein. Curiously enough, it's the first day today that I've opened the messaging on our YouTube side again. I shut it down just basically because of the madness of some people who are, as you say, Tam, and I think that's a great point you make. I would have no qualms, and I don't think anybody I know of friends who would have any qualms whatsoever of providing photographic evidence, passport, driving licence, whatever, to have an account that's open to scrutiny. I think it's a great shout from you, Tam, actually. Anyway, Kilmarnock against Hamilton. Alec Dyer is well aware. I mean, I looked at it. There's only 5 points between 7th in the Premiership and 12th. And Alec Dyer says Killie against Hamilton is a massive game for them.
We are where we're at the moment. If we can win on Saturday, it'd be a great boost for the football club and for everyone concerned. And then that hopefully we'd be looking up a little bit. But it's a long way to go. We just got to take one game at a time and try and win on Saturday. But you're right, it's a big game, very big game for both teams.
Yeah, Hamilton are certainly. I was just about to say, no, but you missed it. You missed it yesterday, and I don't know about this, Charlie. I don't know how you feel about it with out of contract players, or you know, in the summer. I mean, I was astounded yesterday. I actually attended the the Zoom press conference. I was amazed, Charlie, when he said, "Well, listen, if Eamon Brophy doesn't go to St Mirren now, he doesn't want to be here. So I'll let him train with us, but I won't be playing him." And there was 3 journalists in the press conference, and we looked at each other and thought, wow, talk about cutting off your nose to spite your face in this one. But Alec Dyer was fairly adamant about it.
Yeah, I think he's obviously not happy in how it's materialised, isn't it? It was, St Mirren announced it before Kilmarnock announced it. I think Eamon Brophy might have been saying different things to Kilmarnock and what way they was going to go. But I just think that these things, like you say, can end up silly. And we just signed a player, Paul McMullen, on a pre-contract as well, and it's now in a difficult situation for the club, Dundee United, because obviously they're still paying his wages, or for instance, Kilmarnock still paying his wages, knowing that he's going to go and play for somebody else. So I just think they're better getting a deal cut or something to try and make it happen earlier, and then both parties can move on. But yeah, Alec was adamant what he said there, that he'll be able to train, but he won't be playing again.
Yeah. Are you a fan of pre-contracts, Charlie? I mean, I think with fans in the ground, I think Paul McMullen might have had, a very, very tetchy 6 months being barracked by Dundee United fans. They would have given him pelters.
They would have, but how many? I look at people like a Jordan Jones who done it before at Kilmarnock and went and done really well, scored against Rangers in the following week when he signed a pre-contract. I think at the moment, you players, you've got to look after your future, and like I say, I think it depends. It depends on what the personality is like. If that was me and I knew that I was going to sign a pre-contract with somebody else, I'd still be working as hard as I would be until the day I leave that club. Other players are different and be thinking, I don't want to get injured, but that contract signed, it's just how you're perceived. But no, it's a difficult one to have, especially if you're going to a rival, which St Mirren are for Kilmarnock.
Yeah, I always think though. Tam.
I played with Gary Caldwell at Hibs when he signed a pre-contract with Celtic, and obviously his contract was up, and he stayed and played. Tony Mowbray played him. It was Bobby Wilson played him all the way through to the end of the season, and he got dogs abuse off the Hibs fans. And one thing about Big Gary is, and Charlie's played with him as well, he's got the most self-confidence I've ever seen from a player. And he would hit a diagonal, he would hit it out the park, and the Hibs fans would be giving pelters. Get to Caldwell, get the ball at his feet again, hit the same diagonal. He would hit it 3 or 4 times until it came off, and I was thinking, Gary, just play it simple. Honestly, that's what he's like, Charlie, isn't it? He's got some confidence in him.
It is a tough situation to be in, signing a pre-contract. I've obviously never done it, so it must be hard for the lads, but also for the clubs, because you're paying somebody from now till the summer knowing that he's going to be leaving. It is a difficult situation to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I know exactly what you're talking about, Tam, with Gary, big shyness himself. But to be fair, when he joined Celtic, Roughie, he's such a brilliant lad. He thought he deserved to be there. I mean, you couldn't shatter his confidence with a Bunsen burner. I mean, he was there and he was the business, and he had a good career at Celtic and Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, everybody used to criticise him and Big Mick, but obviously in hindsight, if you look at it now, you take the two of them back in a minute. They were winners on the park, and that's what you want in their particular positions. But you're right. I mean, obviously Gary was our manager at Thistle, very confident lad, and I used to hear all the stories about the dressing room, about players didn't like this and they didn't like that. I just couldn't get my head around that. I just thought it was Gary being Gary, wanting to be a winner, and certain people just couldn't live up to the expectations that he had came from. And that happens at a lot of clubs, not just Gary. There's lots of people find it difficult to respond to a manager who's been so successful.
Yep, absolutely. And in the end, ruthless Roughie sacked him. It's as simple as that.
I get that on record. I wasn't there when he was removed.
Yeah.
I'll put it on record. If I had been there, I still had him there.
Oh, would you have kept him?
I'd say, well, we went away to La Manga and he came back and we only lost 2 games out of 15. So, he was doing something right.
Yeah. Yep, good point, Roughie, actually. I'm sure he'd be pleased to hear you defending him there. Killie 1, Hamilton 1 is what I have in that one. I can't split them, Charlie. What about you?
I think it's a tough one. Brian's obviously got a great result the other week against Motherwell. Confidence a little bit higher. I'm going to go for 2-2.
2-2, Tam.
I've got Kilmarnock to win 2-1. I think that Kilmarnock on that plastic pitch, I know Hamilton play on it as well. El Plastico, you can call that game. But I think Kilmarnock will win 2-1.
Yeah, the Kilmarnock are really good on their own plastic pitch, Roughie, according to Tam. What have you gone for?
Yeah, I think we rub of the green for Kilmarnock. I think the manager, we would all agree, he seems a really decent guy and sometimes you want somebody like that to get a wee turn. So I'm going to go Hamilton. I'm going to go Kilmarnock to go 2-1.
Okay, so you're staying with us in that one. Yeah, absolutely. Just write it down, Tam. Don't let him away with anything. Well, listen, this is a wee kind of derby. I know Dundee United against Dundee is a derby, but Dundee United and a lot of the United fans view this one as a bit of a derby as well. Dundee United against St Johnstone. The history of it, St Johnstone are always viewed as a derby among the Dundee clubs, Charlie, for some strange reasons. I know Dundee and St Johnstone, there was a bit of aggro in the 60s. That means it's a feisty affair when you guys get together.
Yeah, I think it's because the people from Perth and the people from Dundee, I don't really think they like each other. I think that might come with it as well. But they call it a derby, a Tayside derby, and it'll be an interesting one. Dundee United, I think, have done well. Like I say, Mickey has been a breath of fresh air coming up to Scotland. I like how he speaks and how he's organised his team. They've probably not scored as many goals as they'd expect. And St Johnstone are in a bit of a, they're in a bit of a precarious position, really. I think that this could be a draw as well, and I'd go 1-1.
Yeah, just 1 point off the relegation spot, St Johnstone as well. But as I said, from 7th to 12th, it's tight. While we hear from Mickey Mellon, have a look at the tactics board behind, and let's see if we can work out his tactics for the game.
Is it one doing the Zoom again?
Here's Mickey Mellon.
So St Johnstone are no different to MDL. You can get them in and among a group of results, and it can kind of be difficult to bounce back from. So there'll always be a difficult opponent. It's a bit of a local derby, one that we're really looking forward to. Games between the two clubs have always been very tight. So history of the last 3 games will tell you that they're going to be close games.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a look at the tactics board here. I don't know if you remember Harry Enfield, but I think a lot of the players are going to be running over that way, Roughie, and then running over that way. That tactics board looks all over the place.
Yeah, it does, but this is one of the games, that he'll be looking at and going 3 points. Where they are in the league is remarkable. I know a lot of them have been draws here, draws there. He's changed his tactics. So they're not so expanding as what they were at the beginning, where they were getting beat 4 and 5 and whatever. So I think they're beginning to get a wee bit more solid just now. And I'm going to go for them basically because if they play McNulty and they play Clark and they play Shankland, surely they've got enough in the A3 to get 1 goal or 2. So I'm going to go Dundee United 2-1.
Yeah, Roughie, I've gone 2-1 for that as well. Tam, what are you going for?
Hopefully Dundee United don't go expanding as well, as Roughie said. So I'm going to go for 1 each draw.
Yeah, okay. Charlie?
1-1 for me.
Yeah, Charlie's gone 1-1 as well. Just out of curiosity, as I look at this, I don't know why Tam's laughing there, but as I look at United, and we've done a feature every day on clubs and the players that could be out of contract. I mean, United have just agreed some wage cuts, but Liam Smith, Paul McMullen, Peter Pollitt, Dylan Powers, Nicky Clark. They'll be the end of the loans for Mark McNulty and Luke Bolton, but United, they've brought a fair few players in, Tam, over the course of this year. And I'll have a few players there that may well be looking and assessing things because, let's be honest, Tam, United, like everybody else, are feeling the pinch. I mean, I don't think people are aware of the real, difficulties financially that lots of clubs are facing at the moment. Still no fans, and I don't expect any fans to be in until the end of this season again.
Yeah, it's been very difficult, Peter. I think the main thing for clubs now is just surviving. To be honest, just being a club. I think Callum Davison touched on it on the show the other day that there's clubs that must be in serious financial difficulty. I think Dundee United would definitely come under that category. I felt as if they pushed the boat out under Mark Ogren. To get out the Championship under Robbie Nielsen and then to do well in the Premier League. The squad they've got a lot of quality in there. They've got a lot of international players, and those players command big salaries. So I think that United will need to start shedding players. They'll need to start cutting that wage bill down and maybe letting 3 or 4 out the door in January and maybe bringing 1 or 2 in. So I think they've got to try and stop the bleeding up at Tannadice because they must be hemorrhaging a lot of money, as most clubs are. But I think with the numbers that we've seen with Dundee United, the money that they lost in the financial year last year was huge. So I think they've got to try and get rid of players.
Yeah, last game in the Premiership that we're going to give you an option on. You can give us thanks very much to lots of people offering their opinion. Michael Clark says 2-0 to the Saints. Tam Lee says it's a 0-0 St Johnstone game. Niall Kane says I'm going for Dundee United 2-1 as well. Lindsay Buchanan has also gone 2-1 to Dundee United. Callum Dillery's a little bit more harsh. He says there's going to be a closing down sale at Dundee United. I genuinely hope there won't be, Callum, because it's such a good club that you really want them to do well. I mean, I personally, we're talking about extending the bottom league for Colt teams. I would love to see someone just have the gumption, the leadership in the SPFL to make it a bigger Scottish Premiership. I think you need a Dundee United, you need a Dundee in there, you need the Dundee derbies. The great thing about up in that area, Charlie, when I used to live in in Edinburgh, people in the east, Hearts and Hibs, massive game. Dundee United, just you'd be struggling to get a ticket.
Yeah, not even Aberdeen Dundee United, big games. You know what I mean? And it was. It's massive if they can. I would like to say I'm all for extending the Premier League as well and making it bigger, because there are a lot of big clubs. Even Hearts are obviously in the Championship this year as well. But if they can get back into the Premier League, be some massive games back in the Premier League, and definitely would bring better sponsorship and more money into the game.
Yeah. Okay. Livingston against Ross County is our final game, and again. What a run, Roughie. David Martindale's on now since he's taken charge. I mean, this is incredible. This is a 5-game winning streak.
Yeah, I would love to have a wee chat with Gary Holt, to see what he's thinking, after obviously doing the honourable thing and stepping aside, and then his team going in this kind of run with the same players. It must be a hard one for you, where you put your principles first and then have to come to terms with it. But no, you're right. They're on a tremendous run. And I think they'll keep it going. As I told you during the week there, I'd sort of got off Ross County's back for a wee while because Yogi had been made the manager in there. A big fan of Yogi. So I sort of got back on board. But since he stole Tony Andrew from us during the week, I'm back on the case. So I'm going to go Livingston to win, and if he takes
such a bitter man,
I know, and if so, I'm going to go. No, I just think they're on good form, and we all know Livy are in good form, so I'm going for a Livy win.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, Roughie, and I'm obviously going to have to ask you here. When you posted me your predictions, you'd gone for Livingston 1, Ross County 1. Have you changed your mind on that?
Yeah, you've just reminded me. You know how much I don't like Ross County.
Honestly,
no, on you go then. Keep it. Keep it one each. Keep it one each.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep it one each.
I always 2-1 now.
Yeah, so same here, Charlie. Absolutely, because Charlie, I've got Livingston to win 2-1. What about you, Charlie?
I like Yogi. I think it's been incredible that he's not been in a job for a while. I like how he talks and how he wants to set his team up. I just think that he's the one that can save them, and I think they can beat Livingston. I think they can end this run of Livingston, and I'm going to go for 2-1 Ross County.
Wow. Okay, Tam.
I'm going to go for a draw. I think that Big Yogi can get a draw at Livy. I'm going to go for 2 each.
2 each. Oh, you've got goals flying in all over the place, Tam. You seem to forget. You seem to forget in cold conditions. we don't usually round about this time get a lot of goals, but you've got goals flying in everywhere again. You're on one.
I've been impressed by
last year.
I was impressed by Livingston and Ross County. Both of them have hammered Hibs in recent weeks, so it's hard to split them. I'm going to go for 2 each. Or Desmond.
Yeah, absolutely. To be perfectly honest with you, it's hardly bragging rights hammering Hibs. You've been telling us they've been ranked rotten, so we'll find out on Monday. Charlie, are you surprised Gary Mackay-Stevens come back to Scottish football? He's signing for Hearts.
No, it's a good signing. He obviously went to America to play for New York, and no, it's He's got good experience. I think Aberdeen wanted him, and to choose Hearts, it's must have got an extra few quid. So Hearts is throwing a bit of money around, and it'll be interesting to see where he plays, because like we played them the other day, and I felt that we played really well against them, and he'll be a good signing. Listen, he's a good player, and we'll look forward to coming up against them.
I think the key thing for you, Tam, you should be one of those liaison officers for Gary Mackay-Steven, and just enlighten him of any rivers that he can safely jump into in the east of Scotland. I mean, it's crucial that you give him the insight on nights out and where to go.
So that's one thing I've never done when I was on a night out, no matter how drunk I was. I've never jumped into a river. So I'll tell you what, I hope that, listen, as Charlie said, Hearts must have given him a few quid. He's playing every week. He's playing over in the MLS, which is a strong league, and there's rumours that Aberdeen and different clubs here were after him. So I think that's a great signing for Hearts, and I hope that all goes swimmingly for the boy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that little pun there, Tam. I think he's a great player, Roughie. I love players with a trick. He didn't quite, I don't know if he was overawed by it. He didn't quite set the header on fire at Celtic, but I like him as a player.
Yeah, I remember when he got thrown into the breach with Aberdeen as a young boy, and I think it was Kilmarnock that were playing, and somebody played a ball out to him, and he flicked it up in the air, flicked it over two defenders, and then went in a mazy, and everybody went, wow, because you don't see that kind of skill very, very often, but he's certainly got bags of it, and if he shows and he entertains, the way that the Hearts supporters like to be entertained, I'm sure he'll be a fantastic signing.
Yeah, same reaction, Charlie, when you hit your first 40-yard diagonal at St Mirren when you were on loan there. Just people, wow, amazing.
Yeah. No, he's a good top of talent. Like you said, probably never hit the heights of Celtic that when he signed from United that they thought he would have, and had to go to Aberdeen a couple of times on loan, and then obviously going to America. But to come back to Scottish football, he signed for a big club that's looking to get back into the Premier League, and the security of maybe a longer term deal than maybe what other clubs are offering. I don't know, but no, it's definitely a good signing for them, and it'll definitely make them stronger.
Yeah, thanks for all the messages that are coming in across our social media. Neil Gray always keeps us up to date, mentioning the fact that I don't know if many people will be... I mean, the BBC are showing Queen's Park against Queen of the South tonight. If you love your football, that might be your bag this evening. Of course, Neil says, you or any of the panel think there's any shocks in the Scottish Cup over the next few days? Can Bonnyrigg Rose of the Lowland League shock Charlie's Dundee? And we have quite a few Bonnyrigg Rose fans who watch the programme here, Charlie, who are mentioning there could be a shock on the card. There'll be no complacency from your boys.
No, absolutely not. I think that's why the TV have turned up, because they might think there's going to be a shock. But we need to show and prepare like we did against Hearts. We need to be right at it first 10-15 minutes. And, we're in a good place, and... we're definitely not taking Bonnyrigg lightly. We'll apply ourselves the way we normally would, and we'll look to win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And fingers crossed, Tam, next Wednesday when Charlie's back on, we're not sitting in the studio just looking at him saying, talk us through Bonnyrigg's third goal, Charlie. What went wrong at the back? Let's... shocks, simple as that. Anyway, good luck to Charlie in the Scottish Cup. Just before we go, there's FA Cup fixtures. There's a glamour of the FA Cup. As you can see, there's a few tasty ones there for us to look at. Aston Villa against Liverpool looks as if it's going to be a foregone conclusion for Liverpool tonight. Aston Villa have got an under-23 side out because Villa have got more than a few players testing positive for COVID. So I think Liverpool will see that one out. The ties that I think there might be a few shocks. Well, it certainly won't be Marine against Tottenham, surely, but it's certainly a glamour tie, Charlie, because quite simply Marine are from Liverpool, the area there, and these boys are so looking forward to playing against Tottenham Hotspur in a ground that will have no fans, sadly, but they'll be welcoming the big guns.
Oh, listen, for lads like this, and obviously Stockport to play West Ham on Monday night, the closest these lads are going to get to them will be watching them on the telly, or going into a stadium to watch them. That it's that's as close as you think you're going to get, and then to get an opportunity in the FA Cup, which I think just shows how glamorous the FA Cup and no disrespect to the Bonnyrigg lads coming to Dens to playing against a team at a big club like Dundee. It's an opportunity they might never ever think they'd get to play at against this level, and for Marine and even Morecambe going to Chelsea, it's a fantastic occasion, and it's great to watch these games and see some of the faces of the lads when they're waiting to line up against Harry Kane or Chelsea's starting 11. So it'll be good for them lads, and hopefully they have a good day and enjoy it.
Yeah, and of course, Roughie, we must say good luck to Derek Adams. He's the Morecambe manager. They're taking on Chelsea. He's manager of the month for December because he's been on a really good run in December. And he'll relish taking on Frank Lampard's side. Maybe a good time to face them.
Yeah, Derek's got a fantastic record down in England. He's obviously moved about. He's taken clubs up in promotion, and he's had a couple of big cup wins as well. So he'll go along there. Derek always looks to me as if he is the kind of manager that can get that wee shock. And it'll be interesting. I think we'll all be keeping our eyes on that because we'll like to see all our Scottish managers doing well.
Yeah, we're a big fan of Derek. When he was out of a job, Tam, we were thinking of bringing him onto the PLZ Soccer show as one of the pundits, but then we realised that he didn't like a bevy, and we thought, oof, need to maybe have a rethink about that.
No.
Need to have a rethink about that.
No teetotal pundits on this show.
we like people that like us.
Lads are drinking doing the show.
Yeah, some of them are, Charlie. Believe me, you've hit the nail on the head. Listen, good luck to everyone who's going to be watching football. We'd love to be at it. But nevertheless, if you love your football over the weekend, thanks to Neil for just posting out some of the games that are on offer tonight. If you love your football, get behind your team. And of course, always, as we say on this programme, thank you to everyone for following our programme on Facebook. Hit the follow button, share it with your friends, and also you can hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel and watch us on Twitter. And if you want to, you can actually visit the shop and see some of our merchandise. There are some great legends on there. We've even got a T-shirt with Roughie on it. I can tell you we've got his canvas as well.
A big beer, a gin stain.
Well, to be fair, lots of people have actually surprised me and bought the Roughie T-shirt and the canvas. He's a housewife's favourite. Some women of a certain age like to buy the T-shirt.
That might be the closest that some women ever get, Roughie.
Well, absolutely, but not for the want of trying. Anyway, apart from anything else, thanks to Roughie. Have a great weekend. You're looking better, Roughie. You're feeling better as well. And what about There's a suggestion that someone went into a shop in Kilmarnock and bought 50 copies of the local Kilmarnock paper because obviously you saved the dog and there was a big feature. Was Maggie out buying the local paper?
Yeah, it was out there, but unfortunately Maggie posting the photograph of me and my long johns has sort of overshadowed that good bit of publicity.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are going out in treacherous roads and out into your back garden, whatever you do, don't do what Roughie did. His wife took a photograph of him with long johns on, and believe me, he looks like he looks like a tramp. Honestly, he's like something on a steptoe. It's absolutely vintage. Anyway, for all the football fans out there, have a great weekend. Thank you for following us and posting all those decent messages as well. We really do appreciate it. From Tam, Charlie, Roughie, and myself, Peter Martin. Thanks for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.